Hello and welcome to When Will It End? It's the movie podcast. Yes, that one, where we watch the movies. We watch a whole series of them. We say, these movies, is they good? Is they bad? Does they make it all fun? Does it make you feel like lying down for a long time? And listener, we done did it. We really led you astray.
So Josh,
we did it bad.
Here, I know we had to pivot. We were going to do Saw. And I was like, hey, I know we can't do Saw anymore, but maybe we could do another horror. Maybe we could do 2 horror franchises. You know, we could do a 4 and a 5. Oh, we had so much cool shit we could have done. And you're like, what about? I know we just came out of a high school universe. What about American Pie?
In my defense, I thought it would be fun. I didn't think it would leave me feeling hollow inside and like I had just done something to myself I could never undo. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think sort of like how before you said I should, my addled brain should have realized that there was literally going to be a Naked Mile. I think you should at this point realize that any comedy series made between the years of 2003 and 2011 are going to be wretched.
I deserve every ounce that you have for me this week because, listener, we have made it to unimaginably the 6th movie in the American Pie franchise. We are, of course, in the doldrums of the direct-to-video era. 2007's American Pie presents Beta House, and we did a bad thing. And
well, we didn't do a bad thing. We didn't do the bad. I want to make that very clear. We're doing the fucking God's work. I feel like, unfortunately, we're going to have to talk about Jim's dad a lot this episode because I'm not really sure what happened. But before, we were calling him the fucking new friendly God, the God that I would bow down and wipe the feet. Whatever you do, what do you do with a God? I don't know. I was in Sunday school.
Well, often you're blinded by the awe and glory of a God.
Oh, right. Squint against
Frequently
the grandeur.
You kneel so that because you can't behold the presence of God. It's just such a,
But that's the old God.
Like, let me explain. In American Pie talk,
yeah,
when any woman walks by, the complete paralysis and of the young men of this movie franchise experience is similar to the presence of omnipotent deity.
Yeah, but I realized while we were even talking about that, that's an old God thing. Like the old gods, the cruel gods, the gods that have no caring for their people, they want that. That's why they became the God in the first place. Jim's dad as the God? I want to have an awkward conversation about cum standing in my bedroom with that God. That's the kind of God that we're talking about.
Well, it's funny you should talk about this because, well, I found this movie to be in every way on par with the absolute worst experiences I've ever had with anything ever. And in the cinematic realm, I would say this is as close to The Love Guru as we've gotten in terms of, it is an unending hate crime with no moment of relief. Almost everything is worse than the things a moment ago. It is terrible. I do not wish to spend too much time discussing the movie because it is a very, very bad thing. The men of Beta House should be killed like the dogs that they are. We must burn it to the ground and salt the ashes that it may never grow again on God's green earth. But it's funny you should talk so much about God. I was thinking, how could I save this experience to bring something edifying into the world out of the wreckage, the moral destitution of American Pie presents Beta House. So I've chosen to pursue it as evidence that there is no God, which I find will answer a lot of questions for people and thus be of value.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I think it really depends on the God that we're after here, because I think this might prove the existence of an Old Testament God or a Lovecraftian God that we brought up last week.
Well, no, this specifically is a rejection of the Christian God, which is something that I am very interested in. Okay, so I was on North American Mission Board.net, NAMB.net, which, by the way, treacherously close to NAMBLA. I just want to say, you're 2 letters off, NAMB.
Yeah, that's a bad... Just get rid of the A. What does it stand for again? North American?
North American Mission Board.
Yeah, how about the Mission Board of North America?
That's much better.
Yeah, MBNA.
Yeah, and you're avoiding the NAMBLA thing entirely that way. Okay, so it's called the moral argument for God's existence. And again, just to be clear, I think American Pie Presents: Beta House disproves the existence of both morality and God, which is, I think, again, helpful for our listeners. Okay, so it's not unusual to hear atheists can be good without God. Atheist Michael Martin states that theists give the same reasons as atheists for condemning rape. It violates the victim's rights, damages society. What Martin really means is that atheists can be good without believing in God, but they would not be good, have intrinsic worth, moral responsibility without God. Indeed, nothing would exist without him. That is, because humans are made in God's image, they can know what is good even if they do not believe in God. Atheists and theists can affirm the same values, but theists can ground belief in human rights and dignity because we are all made in the image of a supremely valuable being. Now, here's the important part.
Wait. How much is this being worth here? What are we talking?
No, we're going to get to that, okay?
Okay.
It continues. Just think about it. Intrinsically valuable, thinking persons do not come from impersonal, non-conscious, unguided, valueless processes over time. A personal, self-aware, purposeful, good God provides the natural and necessary context for the existence of valuable, rights-bearing, morally responsible human persons. That is, personhood and morality are necessarily connected. Moral values are rooted in personhood. Without God, a personal being, no persons and thus no moral values would exist at all. No personhood, no moral values. Only if God exists can moral properties be realized.
This is... I made a promise to my dad that I wouldn't make fun of him on the podcast, but this type of logic is exactly the same kind of shit a Republican old man uses. Like, where are they coming up with this? What logic brought them here? What evidence got them to this? My dad shares me all these videos from like propagandistic losers that have like a series of facts that don't exist and then use that for an entire article's worth of evidence.
Well, this one actually gets better. This takes a turn. You'll notice the turn. If human beings are simply the product of naturalistic evolution, then we have no foundation for moral obligation and human dignity. This could easily undermine moral motivation. The sexual predator and cannibal Jeffrey Dahmer acknowledged the seriousness of the matter. Quote, "If it all happens naturalistically, what's the need for a God? Can't I set my own rules? Who owns me? I own myself." Honestly, Jeff, I don't agree with everything Jeffrey Dahmer did. I think that's an interesting question. The point I'm trying to make is this. The moralistic God that this Christian body purports to be the basis of all human value clearly, obviously, cannot exist in the same world as American Pie Presents: Beta House, a movie so depraved, objectively evil, and devoid of any moral basis that it is in a way a vacuum where all of the good intentions and, the hagiography of the Christ itself is sucked into this nothingness that is American Pie Presents: Beta House. Christianity has found its logical conclusion, and it was in 2007's American Pie Presents: Beta House.
But I think the genius of the Christian faith is that it also created the devil, so that it has this loophole. So anytime a 2007's American Pie Presents: Beta House exists, comes into formation, this further incites the Christian to believe even more in their God, because not only does it prove the existence of God, it proves that there is the absence of God is the devil, and it is creating work that is attempting to sway young frat boys away from the true message and towards a hubba.
A shop, a brrr, a boobies.
So I think this, again, to use the Republican logic, like you have this series of non-facts, and I could do whatever the fuck I want with it. I could say, there were 3 instances of a PSP showing on screen that shows the Trinity. That means that God was, even though this is a God-less movie, he shows his face in the 3 instances of their use of the PSP, so that I know that represents the Son, the Father, and the Holy Spirit.
Right, and of course, we can imagine if God had a PSP, he'd use it to track down co-eds.
Yeah, he would use it to track down co-eds. He would use it to... Fuck, I forgot the second one. What else did they use? There's the very sad attempt at humor where the guy that keeps blacking out and adopts a son who happens to have a PSP.
Yeah, I'd rather not, again, get into the details of this movie, which we're going to donate. We're making a donation to, what's their group?
Rain, you said, right?
Yeah, Rain. We're going to donate to, I want to make sure I get the name right. Come on, please don't humiliate me now.
That's all right. I'll just cut this all out, Josh. It'll be seamless.
No, leave it in. Yes, the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network we're going to make a donation to because platforming this movie in any way is a crime. It is bad. I feel bad that we're talking about it. I would like to talk about almost anything else, like the existence of God.
Well, it brought up questions for me.
Please, I'd love to get into this.
If a son that you didn't like, an adoptee that you could have came with a PSP, would you adopt the son?
Are you asking if a child having a PSP would sway my desire to adopt that child?
Right. I was just trying to get into the mindset of what was his name? Lewis?
Son Lee, I think.
No. Sorry, the guy.
Who cares? Doesn't matter. Who cares? Doesn't matter.
I just was trying to get into that.
He is one of the swine of Beta House, one of the pigmen who must be ended.
This movie is so corrupted that it has fully corrupted. If we're going to talk anything in this movie, we have to talk about Jim's dad, because not even Jim's dad survived this one.
No, almost everything this movie touches is rendered into the ash of shit. Like, it's less than shit. It's like the pale reflection of the shit that once was. It's really, really bad.
I mean, so it starts out, we talked about last week, we knew this series was getting bad was because Eric's dad is a monster. And
yes.
What do they again decide to open with? More monstrosity from the dad. And I guess I just don't... Their attempts at humor are so nothing. Like, so that joke was... First, it didn't start with a joke. He just like abuses or accosts some college students. And then the real joke of that is that he has a list of women he's fucked.
Okay, just to be clear, Shooter McGavin is like, let me show you how I got women, and then literally just asks two teenagers if they'll have sex with his son. And because every single woman in this movie is a absolutely nothing, like a sliver of a fantasy of a whisper of a personality, who pretty much just chuckle off repeatedly, constant. Like, when people talk about rape culture, which is a concept that got a lot of airtime for a while and then has kind of dithered away into the buzzing hornet's nest of public discourse in the 21st century. But like, when people talk about what things set a tone for casually dehumanizing people, like, this is like the textbook.
Yeah.
It's 2007. We're getting to the end of the Bush years. The American empire is sprawled out into two disastrous wars. You know, everything in this country is just this like horrible, you know, pornographic manifestation of dying imperial dreams. And this movie just feels like the most nightmarish depiction. It's like a Paul Verhoeven movie in so many ways.
Right, but without anyone knowing what they were making.
Right. It's like without irony or commentary, it depicts an absolute nightmare of modern life.
Yeah, like without them even realizing it. So like, this is the whitest movie you can see, and then suddenly it gets to like the geek house, and it's just like fucking like it's just like the most stereotypical bullshit. If there's one good thing out of this, it's to see how recently culture had no problem just doing this shit.
Well, okay, people talk about like the war and intellectualism during that period of time in American culture. And in this movie, again, like the boorish dog people of Beta House are like, oh, the multi-ethnic geeks are they're so terrible. They want to shut down our like, you know, like nightmarish rape cult of alcoholism and debauchery. How dare they? And we're supposed to be like, no, we must preserve Beta House. And it's kind of like people who like make you say the Pledge of Allegiance, where you're like, I don't have to say it. It's stupid. Like this, like I don't need to like, I am American by virtue of, you know, my birth, where I live, where I pay taxes. That is the cross that I bear. I don't need to additionally fight for anything beyond that basic lived reality that's psychotic. Like that level, like you don't need to enter some sort of, you know, ideological project just because you happen to be from somewhere. And this movie is the exact same thing, where like Eric Stifler's like, well, I'm in Beta House, I guess I have to commit to every fucking like dog shit awful tradition that this nightmare hellhole propagates. It's oh god.
You know how you can tell though, Josh, that this was like a good frat house is because rather than it be a series of hazing that's cruel and unusual to the participants of the ritual, no, this is a much more updated, you know, 21st century hazing where the people trying to get into the frat just make everyone else's lives miserable.
And then again, I can't get over the fact that everyone is in misery at their behavior, except for the women that they treat like dog shit who just find it charming.
Yeah, and this is why I think this movie is worse than The Love Guru. Because The Love Guru, I mean, I don't know. I'm never going to watch it again. I haven't seen it in however long it's been, but I feel like there was at least one female character that actually was like a character. Every single female character is nothing more than a prop, is nothing more than boobs, and even like the woman that Eric fucking whatever his name, Eric, right?
Eric Stifler.
Yeah. Even the woman that he's like wants to date, which is the laziest plot so far in any of these movies, is nothing more than a fucking prop. So like I've liked before how even in the other even in the last one there was like his girlfriend was a character and she had things to do and things to overcome. Even though they sucked and were boring, it's a wasteland.
Okay, well, hold on. Additionally, I'm happy you brought up poor Tracy, because in the horrific nightmare exposition in this shit-ass awful movie in the beginning, delivered by Shooter McGavin, who plays the like rapiest piece of dog shit dad of all time, they throw Tracy completely under the bus for no reason other than narrative convenience and say, well, your dumbass ex-girlfriend Tracy ran off with that piece of shit Trent. Like the guy
that she didn't like.
Her friends like tried to bully her into having vaguely consensual sex with at a party to lose her virginity. They're like, never mind, fuck Tracy, she's a piece of shit whore, we hate her now. And like, it's like, what the fuck? Like, you don't need to like just dunking on women. Look, I like plenty of things that are problematic. I'm certain there are ample examples of like why even the sweethearted first three movies in American Pie, and we've discussed this greatly, there's a lot of reasons, why those movies have issues. They also have women who are people who have agendas and identities and lives that they're living. And this movie really is so upsettingly, nefariously misogynistic in every way. It oozes a kind of negativity that's like actually disturbing.
Yeah, and this is what I thought the movies were going to be like from the start, and I was so surprised by the first one, especially where it had the female characters in the movie were, I thought, much more fleshed out and important than the men, and they were all good. But like my MVP was what's her name, who was she ruled, and every single person had their own story, and I was surprised by that because usually it's like the teen sex comedy is such a fucking male perspective, and it's gotten worse and worse. I thought American Wedding, like Allison Hannigan's character was just basically like she was such a fragment of what she used to be. And then we've gotten to this where there's just like, I mean, it makes sense. It's just like direct-to-DVD bullshit, but like this is still an American Pie movie. I want what I wanted out of the American Pie series, and I got none of it.
Right. I mean, at this point, we've extrapolated so far away. The premise, and this movie, we have to talk about the final shot for, I think, the rest of the episode. Because this movie ends in such a manner that I thought I missed something and rewound it. And
Me
it was
too.
like, wait, no, that's the end? That's it?
I did the exact same thing. It's not even an ending.
Even in the last one, the predecessor, The Naked Mile, which I cannot stress enough, is a bad movie.
Terrible.
That at least ends with like the premise that Eric Stifler might break away from the demands of being a Stifler and might actually embrace that he's sensitive and nice. And Dwight Stifler, who again is an animal man who should be killed by the state and his ashes scattered across the oceans. He even he's like, what, maybe it's not good to just be like this level of Stifler all the time. God bless you for being slightly better than the rest of the Stiflers. This movie is basically calls all the other movies like gay.
Yeah.
Because they're like, you know what's sick? Beta house, boobs, getting laid, and kicking ass. And that's all that matters. There's nothing else. There's no growth. There's no progress. There's just the perpetuation of this nightmare. This ignorant, xenophobic, bigoted, transphobic, awful, awful culture of beta house. It doesn't matter who Eric Stifler is. He has now been subsumed into beta house. The individual cell of Eric has ruptured its walls. He's not even a Stifler anymore. He's just stuck into the vortex of the amoral nightmare of nihilism.
Yes, that is such a great point. It's like every movie up until this point, I mean, you think I'm crazy. I love the fourth one. I love Bandcamp. I think that is the best Stifler we've ever seen. And at this point, it's like a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy where the producers and screenwriters don't understand what a Stifler is anymore. And like we have this lazy, even in the last one, I was like, oh, maybe a nice Stifler is a funny idea. They can do something with it. Here, they're still trying to keep, oh, he's still the nice guy Stifler who can't fuck, which is their idea of a nice boy, someone that doesn't rape someone. But I don't even know. Maybe who knows? But now they like are still latched. Like part of his character is that he's a nice guy, but part of his character is that he's not a nice guy. There is no character anymore. It's just a dude who looks like he's 40, wandering around parties, puking on girls.
Yeah, the guy looks absolutely beat. Part of my research for this episode did take me to a realization about Beta House that I think I want to share with you. You might find this interesting. Now, we rarely evoke the Kabbalah when we talk about the American Pie movies, but in this case, I thought it was good to get into the symbology and numerology of both letters and numbers as it pertains to Beta House. Now, Charles, quick pop quiz. What are the Beta House letters that they display on their awful shirts, which features a woman bending over, when they compete against the geeks and in football and in all the horrible things they do as Beta House? What are the 3 letters of Beta House?
Probably Beta.
No, it's B-A-E. Those are the Greek letters of their horrible fraternity, okay?
Oh, so
now,
it's Beta, Delta, Epsilon.
No, it's B-A-E.
Oh, it's A?
On their shirts it says B-A-E.
Okay, yeah.
Now, I, of course, ran the numbers. B, second letter of the alphabet. A, first letter of the alphabet. E, fifth letter of the alphabet. Add them all up. What do you get?
2 plus 1 plus 5. That's 8.
Listener, hold on. Okay, yeah. Well, you gave it away. I was going to say you could email in. We'd pause the record.
Well, we can still do that.
Yeah, okay. If you figured out what 2 plus 1 plus 5 was before Charles, email the show. We'll award you a door prize. Okay. So
did they get a door?
No, a door prize. The prize isn't a door. It's like a party. You win the door prize. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I am referencing the Kabbalah of Numbers, a 1920 text. I'll read as follows. There is no natural sequence between the number 8 and the things that number signifies to us. We find it attaching to all that is sinister and unfortunate. It is the chief terminal number, as we have seen, as it denotes death, decay, ruin, privation, loss, imperfection, and corruption. The idea is universal. The 8th division of the heavens is astrologically held to signify death and loss. The 8th sign of the zodiac is Scorpio, with its associated symbols, Serpentarius and Draconis, nocturnal, poisonful, and death-dealing. After the 7th day of creation or unfoldment, death makes its appearance in the world.
Wow.
What I am suggesting to you is that Beta House does not simply reflect the impossibility of a moral Christian God. Beta House is a reflection of death itself. In its numerology, we find the absolute roots of decay, loss, privation. Okay, this is the Kabbalah, all right?
Wait, and what were the geeks wearing?
Oh, those shirts said geek.
That's it. But they were all
kept saying we're geeks and like it's Geek House. They really broke the bank on figuring out how to talk about them.
My dog got attacked by a police dog today.
Oh yeah, you said that. That's fucking awful.
Yeah, dude. It's crazy. This idiot who's apparently like the dog handler of all of Medford police or maybe even the state. I don't know. Like let his deranged, trained to attack dog off leash in a walking trail.
That dog is the Beta House of dogs.
It is. And it's not its fault, but I guess in the same way that Beta House I don't know. It's maybe the dog is I sort of like that scruffy boy. Who's the scruffy beta?
The scruffy beta?
The one that wears water wings and jumps into pools.
Oh, God. The brutal alcoholic dolt?
So I think he's my favorite because he's always so drunk he never actually gets to rape anyone.
We don't know that. Everyone in this movie looks like they've committed crimes of the worst nature, and the manner in which they behave is appalling. So I'm not really sure why we would give anyone an out here.
You're right. Fuck that guy. Anyway, so I called the police, and the first guy I spoke to sounded like I don't know. I don't know. He sounded like a fucking dumbass. And I was like, hey, so your dog attacked my dog. And he's like, how'd you know it was a police dog? What the fuck? The police suck. Every example of the police suck. They should be defunded, especially Medford. I used to think Medford was great, but no, it's just a fucking cover, man. To like, oh, we don't do everything. We do everything right here. We don't kill anyone. Fuck those clowns. So they first got really defensive. He said, I have a chip on my shoulder. When he said, hey, buddy, I'm just the guy on the phone. And I was like, so can I speak to someone else who isn't just the guy on the phone? He's like, wow, you got a chip on your shoulder. Can you imagine this is a public servant, supposedly trying to be peaceful and keep his community safe? There's a fucking wild dog running around killing dogs, and they're getting defensive and calling me a chippy.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah, so I talked to the lieutenant. Also, another thing, do you know, if you ever, I mean, you probably know this because you sometimes speak to the police. If you call a lieutenant officer, oh boy, they get a little frazzled, a little ruffled of the feathers. Every time I call him Officer Casey, he's like, Lieutenant Casey.
That's sick.
Yeah, it's really fun. So I'm going to call him Mr. Casey the next time I call and see what happens.
I mean, definitely keep us appraised of the ongoing escalating beef you have with a violent law enforcement officer. That sounds great.
It probably will. I'll probably bring it up next time.
Yeah.
On the Patreon shit. But I do have a quote for you.
Is this from Eric Lindsay, I assume?
Yeah. You saw this quote?
I haven't seen the quote. This Eric Lindsay, of course, wrote 2012's Last Call, a movie we all know and love. And he wrote Beta House and The Naked Mile before it. And he was a production assistant on Con Air, which remains his most prestigious credit.
What does a production assistant do?
Gets coffee, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Cool. I mean, he's very good at that. I hope he just sticks to what he's good at.
Yeah.
Because he's not good at this. This is what he said about why he wanted to make Beta House. Look, we're not going to top Animal House, of course, but it's been 25 years. I was in a fraternity for 6 years. Let's stop there and do a little math. I know you're in a math mood today. Do you stay in the fraternity after you graduate, or this man spends 6 years trying to get his undergraduate degree while also, like, I took a long time.
It sounds like the latter, but I will say, as we learned in this movie, once a beta, always a beta.
That's right. Once a beta, always a beta.
By the way, I think you're right. I think I was misinterpreting the Greek symbols. I don't think it's B-A-E.
Yeah, that's okay. I wasn't going to bring it up. I loved your interpretation.
Well, it was stupid. I was wrong.
It was classic Republican logic, and I'm not going to argue with it. I stopped arguing with my dad about it, so I'm going to stop arguing with you. But it is
no. The Christian God stuff maintains, but it's not B-A-E. I was wrong
it's beta lambda sigma, I think.
How do you know that?
I fucking studied Greek.
That sucks.
I know. The only thing I liked was memorizing the alphabet. It was really fun.
Oh my God. So were you like livid at the end of the movie during the Greek Olympiad when it becomes clear that they keep shifting aggressively back and forth between Roman and Greek references as though there is no...
I would even say that the hammer that they keep showing is a Norse hammer.
It looked like a big nutcracker, to be honest.
So he says he was in a fraternity for 6 years. Fucking Eric. Oh, wait, his name's Eric? Oh my God, this is an autobiographical thing.
It does feel like Eric Lindsay put a lot of himself into the premature ejaculating king, really outdoing Jim handily in sheer cum. Shitty-ass Eric Stifler.
You never even see Jim's cum.
Of the many bad things in this movie, I hated seeing the Gaspar Noé adjacent cum shot in this movie, which I hated.
It was like The Matrix meets Love. Yeah, it was really pathetic. And also he came... That scene sucked. She's like... Oh my God. Anyway, I got to finish this quote.
She's rubbing a horrific wound on his thigh. And he is aroused by that? Like, you know how excruciating a burn is? Like, it is just... Jesus, God.
I want to talk about that after this. But just to finish the quote, he was in a fucking frat for 6 years. Obviously, he is not well. And he says this, let's just make a straight pledging movie. That's all he wanted to make. All Eric Lindsay wanted to make was a straight pledging movie.
It's just a straight pledging movie.
Yeah, just a straight pledging movie.
Okay, you know what? I've been a little hard on this because I didn't understand that it was just a straight up pledging movie.
Yeah.
Well, now I feel like a dick because now I'm like, I was being all serious about it. It's just a straight up pledging movie.
So when I was in school, I was always taught, some people like to critique art through certain lenses. You have a Marxist reading, a feminist reading. Some of them like to do autobiographical readings. And I feel like before we knew this, we fucking thought this was the devil's work. But now that we know that Eric Lindsay, all he wanted to do is make a straight pledging movie. Well,
just a point of just a small point here. I'm not saying this proves the existence of the devil. I'm saying the amorality and the moral black hole of this film makes it impossible for there to be a caring, loving God. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, we can come back to that because I don't think that this is like I think this is an absence that a caring, loving God is meant to fill. So in the Christian faith, there's the road and then there are potholes. And the potholes are, I don't know, a parking ticket, you get fired
homosexuality.
Yeah, all these things, these terrible, terrible things. And then Christians believe that there is a God that is, he's driving the truck, that cool truck. Yeah.
If there's a Jesus, he's a trucker.
Yeah, so it's got the thing that the first truck has the cones. I recently saw a video of how they put the cones down on Facebook. That's fun.
It is fun.
They put cones on a spinning thing and it drops one and then
it's fun.
Loads the next one right up and drops it again. So he's got the truck that drops the cone and then he's got another truck. And that's the son, I guess. No, Jesus is the son. Who's the father? The father's probably driving.
Well, hold on. I think you're overthinking this. Maybe the father is driving the truck. The Son is helping put the cones on the highway, and the Holy Ghost is the perfect wind that catches that cone and makes sure that it stays firmly in place for moral Christians to avoid the kind of destitution that comes from enjoying Jewish humor or talking to someone from another country.
Well, what about there's got to be that same truck then. How about the ghost isn't the wind? The ghost is the
ghost is the truck. The ghost is the truck.
You're forgetting about the pothole filling. So one of them has to be allowing for the new tar or whatever.
We fill ourselves with the Holy Ghost, but also God, famously sacrificed his only son for humanity. So maybe he's depositing chunks of his son in the holes.
That's it.
Okay.
So the father's driving the truck. The ghost is the one that, I don't know how, because he's incorporeal. He can't really handle those cones, but I guess these might be ghost cones. So he's got the cone thing. And you're right.
He can still just be the truck. Why? He can just be the truck still.
Well, okay, he can be the truck. Fine.
Like what? I'm just saying.
The sun is the new asphalt, though, filling the potholes that are such things as parking tickets, homosexuality, and American Pie Presents Beta House.
That's true.
This is a pothole that needs to be filled by God.
I guess if anything was going to drive me towards the church, it would be this movie, which seems to suggest that we have to move aggressively to solve society's problems lest they further metastasize.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. I have an idea for a movie. Okay. Jesus comes back, as has been promised repeatedly, but he has to pledge a frat. Eric Lindsay gets on board, writes a straight pledging movie, but Jesus has to get motorboated by, 18 women in the same bar in one night, and it's called The Big Titty Showdown or something, and that's the movie.
Do you think one of your favorite quotes was, "Oh, I love me a stripper brawl"?
This movie was bad for me to have watched. Like, it feels bad. Like, it felt bad while I was doing it. It ruined my day. It's lingering over me like the acrid smell of burning rubber. It's just a terrible thing that we did for people.
So I want to talk briefly about Jim's dad, because so far he was the joke. We were like, oh, this is Jim's dad series. It's going to be great. Eugene Levy's going to win every MVP until I ruin it. But hey, you know what, Josh? I'm glad I ruined that, because I would never, even as a joke, award Eugene Levy MVP for this movie, because he's no longer the kind bumbling God that we love. He became consumed by the beta house.
Well, it
turns out he's a beta.
I think. Well, I mean, that was a huge bummer. We can just go ahead and say in making podcast history. No MVP.
No MVP.
Does not get one. Sorry. Jordan Prentice, nice to see a cameo from the great Jordan Prentice. It was briefly edifying to see Rock return for truly some subtle and brilliant scene setting for later in the film. This, oh God.
So
but,
this is
no one is MVP.
I don't want to
walk off the show if okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no MVPs this week. But Jim's dad was it is so sad to see the corruption of Jim's dad. Like, regardless of which movie, the last movie sucked, and even that scene was like a little oasis of love coming from Jim's dad. Here he's a beta that loves cops and like goes to their jail to get them off bail for doing horrendous shit. And then he's apparently the last winner of the dog shit Greek, Roman, Norse battle of tits.
Yeah, it's really bad. It was interesting to get the insight into him as a guy who instituted the Naked Mile as an act of defiance against conformity and presumably the war in Vietnam. And now we find out that he like was another like nightmare frat monster. And I want to talk about this for a minute. You know, we're talking about Eric Lindsay saying, I want to make a good old-fashioned frat movie. In 2020, most people's association with frats are rape, racism, semi-accidental deaths, exclusion, violence,
hazing.
Like everything about that culture. And of course, I feel like that those people are always like, well, we did raise money for Toys for Tots, like one time, or like we cleaned up litter once. Like there's like, other than enshrining elite institutions of shitty, mediocre white men who have nothing to offer the world, frats are like, there's just, I'm not sure what memories Eric Lindsay is trying to evoke for people. Even in 2007, Animal House had come out like 40 years before that.
Not 40 years. Yeah, 25.
Like it's just like what that era of like the angry horny young men are saying F you to boring old conformity. Like that's like being a libertarian, where it's like, no, that just means you're like a shitty white dude. Okay.
Yeah.
So like in this movie, one of the jokes is that, again, the guy you alluded to earlier, his nickname is the Blackout Menace.
Right, and at first I thought it was much. I mean, it is terrible, but I thought at least they didn't make it be like he. I thought it was going to be he intentionally makes women black out and then rapes them, and thankfully it's he gets blacked out.
It's only suggested, and that's part of the larger experience.
Right, exactly. Yeah. At least it's somewhat hidden. It sucks. That character, he's like playing the fucking piano. That's the other thing. This movie was filled with weird references to like Psycho and. Did you see the list of movies that they watched? Like this, there was no rhyme or reason to the fucking references that they're throwing in. I don't even know, like, why is he playing the piano with a martini glass full of money?
They're just trying to show. Again, this is just terrible. The whole thing is like, oh, look how like Otter, like Tim Matheson in Animal House, like the classy guy in the sloppy group, and like, it's like, oh, when he's sober. And again, like I'm 30. I know plenty of people who struggle with substance abuse disorder. So this whole idea of like, man, his life sure is great when he's sober, but when he drinks, he does terrible things. That's not funny. It sucks. It's just dark and sad. And he seems to live in this like Sisyphus like hell, where whenever he wakes up from one of his benders, he's like, what have I done? And it does it all over again.
The movie makes fun of they keep calling him the fat guy. Even though he's not fat, and it's like, who cares? But that's his only thing, and they keep making fun of it.
The big chungus who stops to eat hot dogs during the pig chase, and seems to be like sexually adventurous and kind of cool, because we see him having sex with his girlfriend, who seems like she's very sex positive. Not that she gets to have a personality other than chewing gum, but that seems pretty horrible.
They try to recreate the like dog Heimlich maneuver thing from American Wedding, and instead
to
it
the
was
delight
just
of Shooter McGavin.
Instead, they replaced a dog with a woman in this one.
Good stuff.
But that's the thing, is they make fun of Wesley or whatever his name is. Like, he feels shame for engaging in a threesome with these two people, and I think it's because they're fat. Like, is that why he's so ashamed of like having sex with these people?
I'm not sure. I guess that's the horrible ass fucking shit joke in this stupid, awful movie. But there's other charming things in the movie. Dwight Stifler, again, the Steve Talley guy, like a ninth-rate Ryan Reynolds, which is just such a sobering thing to say out loud, goes to a sex addiction meeting to prey on a sex addict who then rapes him.
Awful. It's not even
and
a
then
joke.
Rapes Bull. Like, it's not, none of these, that scene was so unbelievably uncomfortable. Like with Coos getting raped in the first of these two movies.
I don't even know if we should talk about Coos, but I sort of want to bring it up to show how awful this movie is, because Coos
his story,
entire story,
so bad.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to save you the trouble.
Okay,
I'm going to
just
talk
briefly.
about it.
It's just so bad.
So Coos, at least in the first one, was like, he sucked, but his whole story was that he had a rock hard dick and he came a lot. And it's like, all right, fine.
We're happy
whatever.
for Coos. That's so good for him.
This story is, strangely, without any warning, he has a crush on the other non-named, non-human women, who also has a crush on him.
Hold on. She has two things to her personality. One,
she has a southern accent.
She's a brunette.
Okay, yeah.
And two, she has a southern accent.
Yeah, so she's, honestly, that's pretty good for this movie.
And then we learn a third thing.
Right.
Eventually.
is that they start making out. He's about to go down on her, but then she says, "No, don't do it. I'll go down on you." And then he tells his awful friends, like, "Oh, she probably has a cock." So his entire story, every moment of him on scene after that, is him worried that he might be in love with a woman with a cock. And this is how bad this movie is. This movie and the last one have been afraid to death of penises, afraid of them everywhere. And the only penis in any of these movies is a transphobic piece of shit where you just see a woman with a dick and it's supposed to be nightmarish.
Well, this movie's chock full of other transphobic moments where one of the Blackout Menace's stories apparently he slept with a trans person in Mexico or something.
I think, and that's how he gets him to drink again. He's like, "No, I don't want to drink today because, I'm feeling okay and I don't want to get blackout drunk like I always do.
Damn it.
Please stop preying on my alcohol problem." And he goes, "I'm going to tell all these cute titted girls about that one time with a Mexican." He's like, no, don't say it. Don't say it. I'll drink anything you want.
This movie is just like the laziest hurling of every single awful idea just whipped at a wall. And there's nothing funny about any of it.
So for all the listeners at home who haven't seen this movie and are now on the edge of their seat, wondering what happens to the coos, wondering how he gets rid of these nightmares of penises. Dear listener, it's a happy ending because nope,
she's a squirter.
Not a penis.
She's a squirter.
She's a squirter.
That's the end of that storyline.
And it's the end of the movie. That is how the movie ends. That's the last scene of dialogue.
Compliments him for having female ejaculate on him. And then everyone makes out at the cool pool party and Bull yells, "Beta House rules." And Bull, I disagree, my friend. Beta House is the opposite of all that is good in this world. There is nothing of virtue in Beta House. Beta House is the nadir of the human experience. And I'm saying, next to Come and See, this is the second most chilling film I've seen about the human condition.
So, Craig Cornblow, similarity to Mr. Cordon Bleu from High School Musical. Honestly, the end of this movie had very similar endings to the end of High School Musical 3, right? No, 2. High School Musical 2, which also ended with
pool party, yeah.
A weird makeout scene in a pool party, which a little more awkward and a little more wholesome at the same time. Mr. Cordon Bleu from Universal Studios said this about Eugene Levy. "We think Levy is crucial to this franchise because his character represents the heart of the movie." And I really do think that is true. Because as mismanaged as Bandcamp was, Jim's dad really did represent the core of that movie. And as shitty as, you could sort of graph, as we did in previous films, with this one character representing what the movie represents, and we've seen the corruption of Jim's dad, where he now is the ringleader of Beta House. He is the one that wants to see boys come in their pants. He wants to see tits. He wants to do everything that he's been not wanting to do the entire time, and this is what fucking Eric Lindsay wanted to do since the last movie. And he finally got his wish, and he brought Jim's dad down with him. And I think he should go to jail, Mr. Lindsay, and Mr. Cordon Bleu as well.
I think they should all be shot in the head and buried in unmarked graves somewhere in the Plain States.
I'm one of those cool liberals that doesn't believe in prisons unless it's someone they don't like, and then I want to send them there. So I would like to still send Mr. Eric Lindsay and Mr. Craig Cordon Bleu to prison.
Okay, let's get into the critical response here. First off, Scott Weinberg of MoviePhone didn't like this movie, but found it better than the last two entries.
Oh, come on.
Which is Scott.
The last two?
Take a look in the mirror, Scott. You're telling me Bandcamp is worse than this? You are a fool, sir. I spit on you. I spit on the name of MoviePhone, and I never thought I would say that. Now, he does praise the Star Trek sexual roleplay scene as, quote, extremely effective, which is, interesting. I will say, for all of the hating on geeks, me, a big Star Trek fan, I was like, that shit owns. If I had money, I would recreate Star Trek sexual fantasies and just I would consider that a very good way to spend my time.
Wait, I'm sorry. Are you still talking from MoviePhone guy or from you?
No, that's me.
Okay.
I agree. The only spot of praise is that it's hot and cool that they recreated what looks like part of DS9. or Voyager in the Geek House, which is tight. And again, one more reason why the Geeks were awesome. And their mission, and again, their mission is to destroy Beta House, which is a mission of God. And in this movie, God is destroyed and defeated.
Unfortunately, they also represent the exact same shit. It's not like a good lord destroying Carthage or whatever, and salting the field. This is something. This is like, we get a Trump. In 4 more years, we're going to get a Tom Cotton or something. This is like the replacement of one terrible thing with something even worse. I think the Geeks are somehow even worse than Beta House, because Beta House
So the Geeks are like Buttigieg, because they're like just technocratic, corporate, soulless.
All want to do the same thing. They also mistreat women. They also fuck animals. They also do all the same shit, but they just do it through a sheen of money. Like, they're fucking billionaires. Making little weird robots.
The patina of capital, as opposed to the visceral nationalism and, conservatism of Beta House. Okay. Writing in JoeBlow.com, Adam Quigley poked fun at the film's themes. I'm going to read this quote. Tell me if you consider this to be poking fun at themes.
All right, let's do it.
He declared, quote, "If there's a lesson to be taken from these films, is that women are objects and should always be treated as such."
Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, what?
So this Wikipedia line describes an extraordinarily damning criticism of these movies as poking fun at the film's themes. So I think Adam Quigley was pretty on point with that.
Yeah. But I mean, hey, one man's picking fun is another man's huge, takedown. But whatever.
And by the way, JoeBlow.com, their latest headline is Lana Wachowski will change the industry again with The Matrix 4. Was
that her Matrix reference, or is that just the sunglasses and it was like a Deep Throat reference? Wait, not Deep Throat.
What are you talking about?
The
They're
scene
making
where
The Matrix 4.
I know, I'm saying the scene where Rock makes his reappearance to tell the Beta Housers.
That was like a Deep Throat.
all the President's Men. But they were wearing Matrix glasses, and there was during the parkour sequence, they used some like fake Matrix music.
Okay, not all drum and bass is Matrix music. Jesus God.
Wait, it's not? I'm going to look up Matrix. Hold on. Googling Matrix music.
Now, going to another person who, if you may recall, Peter Hammond of Maxim had nothing but glowing reviews of The Naked Mile. This is, even for Peter Hammond of Maxim, I think a low point. He describes American Pie Presents: Beta House as, quote, loaded with sex, laughs, and raunchy fun, writing that it, quote, may be the most outrageous slice of pie yet.
That's a pretty outrageous piece of pie.
I think Peter Hammond is in the pocket of Big Pie, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I
find it hard to imagine a critic really feeling that this is the most outrageous slice of pie yet.
Can you think of a different one?
I think Teaching Us to Love is the outrageous gambit of the original trilogy.
Oh, and that's the pie you want.
The dick-smashed, cum-covered pie.
You can't have it.
How to love.
You can't have it.
Not in Peter Hammond's America.
I would like to say that there's one thing, as a professional barkeep, as a professional servant, in the name of ale and lagers, I did appreciate that the sextuple keg party pump seemed to be authentic and would function.
Oh.
So I will give it 1 point out of 100 because they actually had a keg handle that attached and would work.
That's a big win. Could you go to the quotes page of IMDb?
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
We're gonna do a little.
Down?
We're gonna do a little thingy.
I'm gonna share this with you on Facebook. No, just go down to the quote. Go to the exchange between Mr. Stifler and Eric Stifler that begins with "son," and it's after Bull's quote, "Beta House fucking rules," which 1 out of 1 found interesting.
All right, let's see.
I'm going to be Mr. Stifler. You're going to be Eric Stifler and Mike Kuzman.
So we're doing the one after Beta House fucking rules.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll start. I'm playing Shooter McGavin, who's playing
also,
Mr. Stifler.
Before we continue, I'd like to say that every single one of these quotes has 1 out of 1 found this interesting, and I am just imagining the one 40-year-old frat burnout that went to this page after watching this movie, having loved it, and just found this interesting over and over again. And also over again.
The trivia page is barren. It's hysterical. Okay, so
wait, so who are you? Who are you? Because we got 3 characters.
I'm Mr. Stifler. You're Eric and Kuz.
Oh God, I have to be Kuz?
Okay.
Okay.
Son.
Yeah.
I want to show you something. This is the list of all the chicks I ever banged.
And this is Coos.
Okay.
Whoa, are you serious? Oh, is that two-sided? It is. Nice.
Good improv there with the whoa. That was good.
Thank
You really,
thank
I felt like I was hanging out with Coos.
I'm so sorry. That sounds awful.
Okay, back to the scene. Huh? Yeah, it's a good goal for you to try to keep up with your old man.
Oh, hey, Papa, why isn't Mom's name last on the list, Papa?
Okay, cut. Charles, I'm happy you're having fun with this and sort of making it your own. Maybe let's try one
Stick
where
to
we
the
just
script.
do well, let's just look, we'll do one where we have fun.
Okay.
We'll just loosen up and have fun. Maybe we do one just straightforward one. Yeah, so let's just stick with the script for now, and then we'll do some improv later, okay?
Okay. Beep,
Let's
bop,
try that
boop.
one more time, okay?
All right. Go.
Yeah, it's a good goal for you to try to keep up with your old man.
Hey, Dad, why isn't Mom's name the last name on the list?
You're really getting that John White magic now. Now you're really
Yeah,
tapped
I know.
into...
Yeah. I'm imagining all the cracks on my face and the weird furrows. Yeah, from just built from just
the
being
misery.
an awful person for 30 years. Yeah.
Yeah. There, we didn't tell you, but when you were 3, we had a trial separation for a week.
Okay. Trial separation? Wait, why is it? Why wasn't it just continued?
It continues.
Weird.
Just
okay.
go.
Sorry. I'll start from the beginning. Trial separation. Dad, there's there's 10 names here for that week alone.
Yeah, I went on kind of a poontang bender there.
Is that my mom's name?
Yeah, on second thought, I'll just kind of hang on to that.
Boop, boop, boop. You had sex with his mom? Oh, wait, there's we walked over. Clop, 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 clop.
Clop, clop, clop. Creak, slut, go.
You had sex with his mom?
Yeah.
I forgot how this ended. How was it?
Yuck.
And scene.
And we did it. Yes.
Wow,
Just
that's a scene from
trying to
American
get
Pie
some of
Presents
the
Beta House.
Eric Lindsay magic in a bottle. My God. This movie was so bad. Looking through the quotes page is like touring Birkenau. The joke when he comes under Teddy Bear, it's named Mr. Biggles, and that seems to be the whole joke, is that it has a silly name. Well, one that is very close to Austin Powers.
Yep, the joke is that a man, or a boy man, with a terrible burn from chowder, comes because I guess he isn't allowed to masturbate anymore, or he's so traumatized from killing his grandmother that...
Yes, right. Another key part of the canon building here is that she's like, why are you shooting cum like a fucking lawn sprinkler? And he's like, oh, I don't jack off anymore because I once jacked off and it killed my grandmother. But it doesn't say that. So it's a clever wink to fans of the franchise. Remember when Eric Siffler murdered his grandmother by cumming on her?
I want to talk, I think that what hasn't happened since the very first movie, maybe the second, is they do not understand why girls and boys, men and women want to date each other. Over and over again, we get loser boys just going up to girls, and so the scene, they go ask each other on a date after not having known each other. They're in the bathroom, and he just says, do you want to go out? They both at the same time, do you want to go out? And then they have a date where their conversation sucks. Why does anyone in this movie want to date anyone? They're all fucking horrible.
I'm not sure why anything is motivated for any reason in this movie. In this movie, and we've talked about this, the central cult of worshiping meaningless drinking and sex, and there's no other reason to exist. There's no other purpose. No one has interests other than Dwight learning Swahili, which is funny because his Swahili teacher is a random African guy wearing a robe. And what a
and
good
then they
bit that
play
is.
African music while he says something racist.
Good stuff. This is such a low point in a year that's already been so bad. This is still somehow one of the worst things I've done in this year.
I guess what is disappointing is that why the first one worked so well, and I'm even going to add the fourth one into this, is that it understands. Actually, no, I'm taking the fourth one out because it didn't do a very good job at this. It makes you want to see why the people are talking to each other, because it created characters that were believable and fun, and you understood the connections not only between the four friends, but between all the other people in the movie. They had conversations that felt real, And like when Oz and his, what's her name? Who's Oz's girlfriend?
Mina Suvari.
When they're first meeting, it's awkward. It's a conversation that high schoolers would have with each other. And it's like actually real. This is like no one ever talks to each other. It's just set pieces of bad jokes. And there's no connection to anything happening. It is, as we said, the absence of a God.
Right. I mean, this is just a black hole. There's no MVP here. We're not going to ask when will it end. It has ended.
Right. There's no point. This whole episode was a waste of time because we have entered a Blade. Like, this obviously is not as bad a movie as Blade 2, but like this is another example of a non-franchise movie being suckered in. And I'm just afraid that I hope that this spirit doesn't carry over into American Pie Reunion or whatever, American Reunion. I can't imagine that it would, but...
Well, I mean, this is like the dirty little secret of the American Pie verse. This horrible, turgid slog through these direct-to-video movies. We've got one more to go.
I can't believe that.
I can't believe it either.
We've already spent
I was so excited
weeks on this shit.
I know, we were so excited I'm still excited for American Reunion. I still like the first three movies a lot. I pray that we're out of the lowest point.
I hope so, but I don't know. We like,
pray to what though? Like, why would I expect anything from life after this?
For me, it's been a very nice little, like, basically a COVID graph where it's like, and I'm sorry, it might be a little triggering or hard to think about, but
no, go ahead. Compared to the direct-to-video American Pie franchise to the COVID-19 crisis,
came out strong. Surprised me. Didn't see it coming. It took a little bit of a lull. And then for me, 4 just boosted right back up, just like June and July or whatever. And unlike COVID, we are now, if this country had done what we were supposed to, this graph would have correlated because we would have had a steep dive and we would have been back to 0. But instead, it doesn't really match up anymore.
It seems like you're kind of complimenting COVID is mostly the takeaway from that.
Yeah, I'll work on it. Maybe I'll like record after this and like really like cut abruptly and just put in a better explanation for what I meant. But yeah, I mean,
no, I think you got it in one.
You think I did it?
One take, like, Charles, they call him.
Yeah, I mean, well, Papa, what's with all those names, Papa? What about Mama?
Women are things for Stifler to fuck, son.
Oh my God!
Take your shitty cock and stick it in a woman. It's the only thing that matters in life. That and drinking. Fuck these movies. Okay, next episode, we finish the fucking direct-to-video with The Book of Love. Bear in mind, The Book of Love is a sex secret book handed down by Casey Affleck in the original trilogy, so that does not bode well for this movie.